Afternoon. Hello, everybody. It's Judy Cohen, and this is Wake Up Call 526. And we are looking at the Dhammapada, the poetry of mindfulness, and still the first chapter, which is called Dichotomies or Pairs or Choices. And the first couplet, you'll remember, essentially says, we are what we think. With our thoughts, we make the world. And then the next couplet is about how hatred never ends through hatred, that only love dispels hatred, and that this is an ancient truth, which of course has been quoted by so many of the greats throughout history. Um, and then the next line is, or the next couplet is, you too shall pass away. Knowing this, how can you quarrel? So I was going to combine this with other things, but then I realized this is a standalone. And I really love it for a lot of reasons. First, we all will pass away. And, of course, society emphasizes the opposite. Everywhere I turn, I see invitations to live longer, look younger, and passing away, also known as death, is portrayed as an unwelcome visitor at best. And, even something we can avoid. Right. But we know on a cellular level, even if we sort of sequester the news from our consciousness, that we're just here for a minute. Because our lives aren't different from anything else, which is all just arising and passing away. Everything is arising and passing away. The weather, political movements, empires, the breath, our life. It's just arising and passing away. Flannery O'Connor says that the truth doesn't change according to a person's ability to stomach it. And the fact that we're just here for a minute doesn't change, no matter how hard it can be to accept that truth. Which is, it's also, it's a truth, it's also a characteristic of being human, right? And it goes hand in hand with the fact that it's a bumpy ride and nobody gets through life without losing things or losing people or getting sick or getting injured or without things going sideways. Actually, no one gets through life at all, really. But the good news is we can bond around this, right? Because it's the same for all of us, which is another characteristic of being human, that we're not really different from one another. We're not separate from one another. We're not better than one another or worse than one another. We're all in this life together, this challenging world together. And because of that, we belong to one another. One of my students wrote in their journal this week that they're sick of their classmates complaining about their fabulous apartments and their great big law jobs when the student has neither. And I understand. And at the same time, who knows? Maybe their friends won't survive big law. Maybe their friends' relationships won't survive big law. Maybe someone will die young. So my students' sick and tired pain, it's understandable, and it's also not different from the pain that their friends are experiencing. Not different, not separate. We're all in this together. We belong to one another. So these points that we exist in a changing world, we're just here for a minute, we belong to one another. I like the way the organization Everyday Zen talks about this on their website. Their tagline is changing and being changed by the world. And that's it, isn't it? If we stop clinging, we're just changing and being changed by the world, all lifelong until the end of our lives, which will come, that last change, our fate. You too shall pass away. Knowing this, how can you quarrel? I feel like the Dhammapada is saying, it's great, this news that everything is changing and that we belong to one another and that we're just here for a minute. Because when we realize that those three things are true, there's nothing to fight about, right? We're all in this together and just for a minute. So Why take sides? You know, why stake out territory? Why demand more or even take more? You know, why exclude anyone? You know, why not just be kind no matter what? But the irony of this, right? That our leaders do things in such an opposite way, that they consider fighting for their points of view or their enrichment or their power to be reasonable or even mandatory, you know? So, how do ordinary humans like us live within the ethical framework of you too shall pass away? Knowing this, how can you quarrel and still live in a world where people are dying because of choices that our political elite believe is their right, their birthright? And it's a question for each of us. How do we live knowing we will die? And also for this crowd, how do we work inside an adversary profession, right? And not quarrel. So had to be a little geeky, looked up the word quarrel, and the Oxford dictionary definition is a heated argument or disagreement, typically about a trivial issue between people who are usually on good terms. And there it is right there. Right. So for lawyers, we have a job to do. We have to be passionate advocates, whatever we're fighting for, justice, our client, the earth. We have a job to do, a fight to win, or a deal to put to bed. But is quarreling required? No. You know, knowing we're here for just a minute, that we're going to die, why not state our positions with kindness? Why not be forceful and patient, or pointed and generous? Why not see one another as siblings and take care of each other like one sibling for another or one parent to a child, you know, from a grounded place, from an equanimous place, a place that remembers that we're all in this together. Pema Chodron says we should ask ourselves, am I going to practice peace or am I going to war? And I love that question. And I love asking myself that question every day. And it reminds me of a poster from when I was a little girl in the 1960s that said, war is not healthy for children or other living things. If you're of my vintage, I'm sure you'll remember that. Uh, I feel like the Dhammapada is pointing us in the direction of not quarreling, of not going to war, you know, of practicing kindness, of being passionate, winning, getting things done that need to be done, and remembering that the ride is bumpy and we're all in this together and we're just here for a minute. And that, yeah, we too shall die. Pointing us in the direction of remembering that war is not healthy for children or other living things. Pointing us in the direction of ending quarrels and practicing peace.